in the mountainous heart of Nagano, Japan, lies a valley born of fire and locked in ice. This is Jigokudani, the Hell Valley. Here, steep snow-smothered ravines plummet toward freezing alpine rivers, while violently steaming volcanic fissures tear through the heavy frost. It is a landscape of profound and beautiful contrasts, a crucible where the delicate balance between inner peace, a quiet zen, and the vital bonds of society is constantly tested by a merciless winter. As the pale, silver light of dawn breaches the jagged peaks, a solitary figure stands motionless upon a rugged volcanic cliff. The Japanese Siro, cloaked in an incredibly thick, insulating coat of fur, this primitive goat antelope stares into the driving blizzard with absolute stoicism. It is a master of solitude, surviving the brutal frost on a meager diet of woody shoots and hidden acorns. Its quiet resilience, an embodiment of alpine zen. Down near the forest edge, silence is a weapon. The Japanese red fox pauses in the open alpine meadow. With extraordinary acoustic sensitivity, it tilts its head, pinpointing the faint, desperate rustlings of a rodent deep beneath the heavy winter snowpack, before executing a perfect, plunging dive into the icy depths. It must be careful, for it is not the only ghost wandering these woods. The Japanese hare has completely shed its brown summer coat for pure white winter fur. It remains absolutely motionless among the freezing brush and thickets, blending perfectly with the snowdrifts to evade the sharp eyes of aerial predators overhead. High above the silent hare, the complex vertical structures of the cedar canopy are patrolled by a far more energetic hunter, the Japanese marten. With highly agile leaps, it uses its long balancing tail and sharp claws to bound effortlessly between frost-covered branches, forever searching for dormant insects and lingering winter berries. Beneath the ancient cedars, the deeply insulated snowy glades present a grueling physical challenge for the Sika deer. This resilient herbivore must expend massive amounts of energy, using its sharp hooves to continuously scrape away thick layers of ice, just to uncover buried grasses and frozen tree bark. Survival here often means retreating from the surface entirely. Deep within the extensive root systems of the ancient forest, the Japanese badger has used its formidable front claws to excavate the frozen topsoil. It rests in a deep burrow, completely safe from the lethal freezing temperatures above, surviving on hidden tubers and earthworms. Yet, for others, survival relies not on isolation, but on the warmth of the group. On the steep inclines of the winter woodlands, a family of raccoon dogs, the legendary tanuki, demonstrate the vital importance of society. These highly social animals develop exceptionally thick, spherical winter coats, frequently huddling closely together to share vital body heat. A quiet community prevailing against the bitter cold. Beneath them, weaving through rocky crevices and subnivean tunnels, the Japanese weasel leads a very different life. It is a sleek, relentless hunter with an incredibly high metabolic rate. To survive the biting chill, it must remain in constant, hyper-energetic motion, pursuing mice through absolute darkness. Up in the heavily snow-laden coniferous canopies, the Japanese squirrel finds refuge from the mountain winds. It curls tightly against the bark, using its large, fluffy tail as a biological thermal blanket, while it feeds on cached walnuts and pine cones. As morning fully breaks, the creatures of the night begin to retire. The Japanese giant flying squirrel, an enormous nocturnal mammal with massive eyes, uses its specialized gliding membrane to sail silently between the tallest, most ancient cedar trees, returning to its hollow after a night of foraging. It shares this towering neighborhood with a much smaller relative. The Japanese dwarf flying squirrel seeks out abandoned woodpecker cavities in the forest canopy. Once inside, this incredibly fluffy, large-eyed creature tightly wraps its flat tail over its head like a warm blanket, conserving every precious ounce of body heat against the howling blizzards outside. Down on the deeply buried valley floors, brute strength is required to unlock the Earth's bounty. A massive wild boar acts as a natural snowplow, forcefully driving its hardened, leathery snout deep into the permafrost. It unearths hidden, ecological treasures, frozen roots, tubers, and dormant larvae. The boar's heavy excavations briefly expose the microscopic networks of tunnels directly beneath the deep snowpack. Here, the Japanese wood mouse thrives in the stable, insulated temperatures of the subnivean zone, using its extremely long, sensitive whiskers to navigate through absolute darkness. In the frost-hardened leaf litter just beneath the surface, true shrew mole is also hard at work. This endemic insectivore utilizes its highly flexible, sensitive pink snout like a biological metal detector, precisely locating dormant earthworms hidden within the frozen dirt. But the valley floor is never entirely safe. High in the canopy, perched atop a dead, lightning-struck cedar branch, sits the mountain hawk eagle. This magnificent crested raptor remains completely unbothered by violent crosswinds, its piercing golden eyes scanning the white valley for any careless movement below. Even higher, soaring above the jagged, snow-covered volcanic peaks, the golden eagle commands the sky. A massive avian hunter requiring immense caloric intake, it uses extraordinary visual acuity and a broad wingspan to navigate treacherous alpine wind shears, ready to strike hares with its razor-sharp talons. As the daylight brightens, the hunters of the night settle into the shadows. The Ural owl, a ghostly nocturnal predator, rests against the frost-rimed bark of the mid-canopy. Its advanced facial disc and completely silent flight feathers make it a terror to small rodents. But for now, it simply observes the waking world. The silence of the morning forest is rhythmically broken by the industrious percussion of the forest's carpenters. Clinging to the undersides of heavily frozen branches, the minuscule Japanese pygmy woodpecker acts as an aerial acrobat. Using its stiff tail feathers as a biological prop, it hammers its chisel-like beak with astonishing rapidity into the icy bark. Nearby, the resonant drumming of the great spotted woodpecker echoes through the hollow trunks. This robust species features an incredibly reinforced skull anatomy, allowing it to deliver massive, violent impacts against the solid timber to extract wood-boring beetle larvae, all without sustaining the slightest injury. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of moss green and bright red pierces the monochrome woods, the endemic Japanese green woodpecker. Clinging to wooded areas heavily plastered with driving snow, it extends an extraordinarily long, barbed tongue deep into excavated crevices to draw out hidden insects. As we descend toward the valley floor, the landscape shifts from silent snow to the roaring chaos of the freezing alpine river. Here, the brown dipper thrives in the fast-flowing rapids. This stout bird possesses highly waterproofed plumage and a specialized nictitating membrane that acts as natural underwater goggles, allowing it to dive fearlessly into the freezing torrent to hunt submerged aquatic larvae. Above the dark river, perched on frost-encrusted cedar branches, the crested kingfisher waits. The largest kingfisher in Japan, this prehistoric-looking bird hovers dynamically in midair, mathematically calculating the water's depth, before plunging vertically to spear small river fish. Along the slippery, overhanging ice shelves of the riverbank, the Japanese wagtail moves with sleek precision, characterized by the constant, rhythmic pumping of its incredibly long tail. This black and white bird meticulously pecks at the icy precipices for small, winter insects. Amidst the chaotic, frozen river roots on the steep mud banks, a microscopic ball of brown feathers vibrates with hyperactive energy. It is the Eurasian wren. Despite its tiny stature, it delivers an astonishingly loud, complex, trilling song directly into the blizzard, a triumphant assertion of life among the ice. Out on the windswept river shingle, surrounded by towering snow walls, the alpine accentor faces the brunt of the gale. This high-altitude specialist stays completely flat against the ground to endure the harshest crosswinds, actively flipping over frozen pebbles with its beak to find lethargic insects. In the snowy canopy above the river, survival is a collaborative effort. Mixed species foraging flocks move like a unified society through the swaying birch branches. The Japanese tit is a highly social and vocal leader of these groups, frequently seen hanging completely upside down from delicate twigs with supreme agility to extract hidden spider egg sacs. Accompanying them in the deeply furrowed oak trees is the varied tit. With its distinctive chestnut flanks and cream-colored face, it uses its beak as a powerful ram, wedging gathered pine nuts deep into vertical wood crevices and carefully covering them with torn bark. At the outermost tips of the evergreen branches flits the coal tit. As the absolute smallest member of the winter canopy flock, it is forced to fluff its gray feathers into a perfect, heavily insulated sphere, a tiny bulwark against the cold as it extracts microscopic seeds from tightly closed pine cones. Lower down, among the rotting birch stumps, the willow tit relies on hard work. With a distinct matte black cap and large throat bib, it is uniquely adapted to physically excavate its own insulated roosting holes out of the decaying wood. Moving with dizzying grace on the smooth, towering trunks of massive beech trees, the Eurasian nuthatch performs a feat few others can. Beautifully colored in blue-gray and orange, it walks headfirst directly down the vertical timber, spotting hidden grubs in upward-facing crevices that other birds simply overlook. Conversely, the Eurasian tree creeper is a master of camouflage that moves exclusively upward in a spiral pattern. Clinging to the heavily furrowed, frost-encrusted ancient cedars, it uses remarkably stiff tail feathers to support its weight. The peaceful foraging is briefly interrupted by the boisterous calls of the brown-eared bulbul. Clinging to dormant winter vines, this large resident with distinct chestnut ear patches possesses the powerful digestive capability to swallow rock-hard frozen berries whole. But the true, beautiful essence of avian society is found in the long-tailed tit. Known locally as the snow fairies of Japan, these incredibly round birds suffer from extreme heat loss due to their tiny size. As the chill deepens, they are forced to huddle tightly together on delicate ice-encased branches. Their shared warmth, the only thing standing between life and the freezing abyss. Winter, however, brings out a darker side of survival. In the exposed, thorny shrubs, the bull-headed shrike, the notorious butcher bird, watches over its gruesome larder. A formidable predator, It impales small vertebrates on sharp thorns, tearing the frozen meat with a raptor-like hooked beak. Deep in the snow-covered oak trees, intelligence rivals pure strength. The Eurasian jay, a large corvid flashing brilliant iridescent blue wing feathers, utilizes supreme spatial memory to accurately locate caches of acorns buried under half a meter of fresh snow. As we move deeper into the valley, the environment undergoes a radical, almost magical transformation. We enter ethereal geothermal transition zones where rising steam from volcanic vents begins to melt the snow. Here, the spotted nutcracker, a beautiful chocolate-brown bird with white speckles, utilizes a highly specialized chisel-like beak to dig through the deep snowpack, storing hard pine nuts within a sublingual pouch. The heat draws opportunists. On volcanic rocks situated directly above the thermal vents, the large-billed crow demonstrates profound intelligence. This exceedingly adaptable scavenger deliberately allows the thick, billowing steam to completely wash over its body, luxuriating in the ambient heat. In these warmer microclimates enveloped by condensation, a beautiful winter migrant, the brambling, finds vital liquid water. It presses its small beak directly against melting icicles, an oasis of hydration within a landscape entirely locked in solid ice. Nearby, the Asian rosy finch targets miniature foraging oases. Displaying beautiful pinkish rose feathers, this alpine specialist seeks out tiny patches of wet, dark earth completely thawed by radiant geothermal heat. Up in the bare, frost-coated branches weaving through the thick steam, the Japanese growbeak sits like a silent sentry. Easily identified by its stark black facial mask and massive bright yellow beak, it generates a bone-crushing bite force to effortlessly shatter frozen nuts. It is rivaled only by the hawfinch, perching on overhanging branches near the vents. This robust, warm-colored bird boasts the most powerful bite force of any finch on the planet, using its thick, metallic-looking beak to crack open completely frozen wild cherry pits. The geothermal energy also breathes life into the Ashanoji, freezing, crystal-clear alpine rivers. The white-spotted char, known as iguana, thrives here. A sleek, olive-brown predator, heavily speckled with stark white spots, it navigates the powerful currents perfectly to ambush aquatic nymphs. Where the freezing alpine runoff meets the geothermally warmed waters, we find the cherry salmon, or imago. This stunningly beautiful endemic fish is famous for the brilliant, intense blood-red spots running along its lateral line, providing a magnificent flash of color in the dark water. Along the dark, sandy bottoms near bubbling underwater geothermal fissures, an alien-looking crustacean stirs. The Japanese mitten crab uses its distinctively dense, fur-covered front claws to meticulously sift through fine volcanic sand, seeking organic matter. Anchored to smooth basalt stones in the rushing volcanic riverbed, the far eastern brook lamprey holds fast. A primitive, jawless vertebrate undulating like a long, dark ribbon, it uses its completely circular sucker mouth to securely anchor its body against the continuous rushing water. As the valley narrows, the river pools into calm, steaming hot spring sanctuaries. Gliding upon the glass-like waters, the mandarin duck floats perfectly still, displaying a spectacular array of iridescent purple, green, and vibrant orange sail feathers. It finds ultimate warmth and refuge. Beside them, the common teal filter feeds along entirely thawed mud banks. These small ducks, marked by a striking metallic green stripe across the male's face, rapidly sweep their bills side to side through the warmed mud. On the snow-free heated volcanic rocks amidst the thermal pools, a massive black bird strikes a statuesque pose. The Japanese cormorant. Lacking complete feather waterproofing, it stands perfectly upright with its massive wings spread wide open, utilizing the ambient heat and wind like a biological solar panel. But this heated sanctuary is not entirely free from the harsh realities of the valley. Suddenly, sweeping through the dense steam of the hot springs, the Eurasian sparrowhawk attacks. With intensely glaring yellow eyes and long, powerful legs, this sleek raptor executes a high-speed, violently aggressive hunting sweep, a terrifying reminder of ever-present danger. As the afternoon light finally fades into a deep, freezing violet, the valley's most remarkable residents step out from the snow-laden trees and approach the steaming waters of Jigokudani. The Japanese macaques, the famed snow monkeys. They are the most northern living non-human primates on the planet. To survive the brutal, bone-chilling mountain cold, they have developed an extraordinary cultural intelligence. One by one, they step down into the boiling hot springs, completely submerging themselves until only their striking red faces and frost-tipped fur remain above the waterline. Here, in the swirling vapors, the true meaning of society is beautifully revealed. Mothers gently groom their infants, elders close their eyes in deep, meditative tranquility, and the fierce social hierarchies of the troop dissolve into a collective, peaceful warmth. In the heart of the Hell Valley, surrounded by endless ice and driving snow, they have found a profound stillness, a perfect, enduring balance of Zen and society.